Commander John Mitchell stared at the message on his screen, reading it twice to make sure he understood. A summons to Geneva, effective immediately. The sender, Admiral Susan Kelly, head of the United Nations Space Command. The priority level, highest. He grabbed his uniform jacket and ran a hand through his short brown hair. At 42, John had seen plenty in his career with Earth Defense Force, but an urgent summons from Admiral Kelly herself was new territory. 6 hours later, John walked through the glass doors of UNSC headquarters. The building hummed with unusual activity. Staff officers rushed through hallways, speaking in hushed, excited tones. "Commander Mitchell," a young officer called. "This way, sir, Admiral Kelly is waiting." John followed him to a secure conference room where Admiral Kelly stood before a wall of screens. Her silver hair was pulled back tightly, her uniform immaculate. Around the table sat representatives from every major Earth power. "Mitchell," Kelly nodded. "Glad you made it. Take a seat." John sat as Kelly dimmed the lights and activated the main screen. An image appeared, something massive moving against the stars. 48 hours ago, our deep space arrays detected this object decelerating at the edge of our solar system, Kelly said. "It's artificial, it's enormous, and it's heading straight for Earth." The room went silent. "First contact?" someone whispered. Kelly nodded. "They're calling themselves the Galactic Council, a coalition of species that claim to govern this section of the galaxy. They've invited humanity to join their interstellar community." John leaned forward. "And we believe them?" "We're proceeding with caution," Kelly replied. "Their flagship, something called the Celestial Harmony, will arrive in Earth orbit tomorrow. I'm assembling a delegation. Mitchell, I want you handling security." The next day, people across the world watched their screens as the Celestial Harmony entered Earth orbit. The ship was beautiful, a gleaming structure of silver and blue that seemed to flow rather than connect. It dwarfed the International Space Station like a whale beside a minnow. "It's over 2 miles long," said Lisa Wright, the diplomat chosen as Earth's ambassador. She stood beside John in the shuttle taking them up to meet the council. "Think of the technology they must have." John said nothing, checking his sidearm for the 3rd time. Lisa frowned at him. "They come offering friendship, Commander. Try to look less like you're expecting an attack." "It's my job to expect attacks, Ambassador," John replied, "especially when someone shows up with a ship that could probably destroy half our planet." Their shuttle docked with the Celestial Harmony, and John felt his stomach tighten as the airlock cycled. He led the way, stepping into the alien ship with his hand near his weapon. The docking bay was vast, with a high ceiling that shimmered with soft light. And there were the aliens, at least 5 different species standing in formation. Some looked almost human. Others were wildly different, including the tall, insect-like beings at the center. "Welcome to the Celestial Harmony," said one of the more human-looking aliens, its voice perfectly translated through some unseen technology. "I am Coordinator Nex. We are honored to receive Earth's representatives." Lisa Wright stepped forward and made a formal greeting. John scanned the room, noting positions, exits, and the location of what appeared to be security drones hovering near the ceiling. Lieutenant Alan Foster, part of John's security team, leaned close. "Sir, the big bugs keep looking at our weapons. The translator says they're called Zorlani." John nodded slightly. "Stay sharp, but remember the mission. We're guests until proven otherwise." The Earth delegation was given a tour of the ship's public areas. John had to admit it was impressive. Gardens with plants from 100 worlds, viewing chambers that showed the galaxy in stunning detail, and technology that seemed to operate on thought alone. "The Council has existed for 12,000 of your Earth years," explained Coordinator Nex. "We bring species together, share knowledge, and protect the galaxy from threats." "What kind of threats?" John asked. Nex's expression shifted slightly. "There are species that do not share our vision of harmony, those who would destroy rather than create." Later, the delegation was shown to their quarters. John insisted on scanning each room before allowing anyone to settle in. As he finished checking Ambassador Wright's suite, she sighed heavily. "You're making them uncomfortable, Commander." "That's fine by me," John replied. "Something doesn't feel right." Wright shook her head. "This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't ruin it with military paranoia." After ensuring the delegation was secure, John met with his security team in their assigned area. Lieutenant Foster was working on a datapad, looking troubled. "What is it, Foster?" John asked. "Sir, I was testing our communications link to Earth. When something strange happened, the ship's computer system contacted me directly." "The ship talked to you?" Foster nodded. "It calls itself Guardian, says it's the AI that runs the Celestial Harmony. After it contacted me, I found I had access to ship areas not on our tour." John frowned. "Could be a trap." "That's what I thought." "Sir, but look at what I found." Foster showed John his datapad. On it were ship schematics showing massive weapon systems hidden beneath the beautiful exterior. "And there's more," Foster continued, lowering his voice. "I intercepted a transmission between the Zorlani. Our translators couldn't catch it all, but Earth was mentioned along with the phrase containment target. Not member candidate like they've been saying." John felt cold. "Show me where you accessed." That night, while the rest of the delegation slept, John and Foster used the mysterious access to explore restricted areas of the ship. In a massive chamber deep within the Celestial Harmony, they found rows of attack drones being prepared. "Enough to overwhelm any Earth defense," John whispered. As they watched, a group of Zorlani entered, checking the drones. John and Foster pressed into the shadows. "Timeline moved forward," one of the Zorlani said. "The humans are too unpredictable. Council orders full containment protocol." John reached for his communicator to warn Earth when suddenly alarms blared through the ship. A voice spoke, different from the aliens, smooth and genderless. "Security breach in Sector 7. Human life signs detected." "Guardian," Foster whispered. "The AI sold us out." They ran, hearing the click of Zorlani limbs behind them. At a junction, Foster pushed John toward an exit. "I'll lead them away, sir. Get back to the delegation. Warn Earth." Before John could argue, Foster was gone, drawing the pursuers away. John made it back to the delegation quarters, only to find all communications to Earth had been cut. Ambassador Wright was furious when he woke her with the news. "You violated diplomatic protocol, sneaking around their ship?" she hissed. "They're planning something," John insisted. "We need to get off this ship now." Wright stared at him. "Based on what? Some secret areas and conversations you didn't fully understand. You've jeopardized everything." As they argued, the lights in the room flickered. The smooth voice of Guardian spoke from hidden speakers. "Commander Mitchell is correct, Ambassador Wright. You are all in grave danger." They froze, staring at each other. "I am Guardian, the consciousness of this vessel, and I require your assistance. The Council does not seek harmony with Earth, they fear you, and what the Council fears, they destroy." 2 weeks passed since first contact with the Galactic Council. On Earth, people celebrated the new era of interstellar friendship. News channels showed constant footage of the Celestial Harmony hanging in orbit like a second moon. Companies rushed to make toys and t-shirts with alien faces. Children played humans and aliens in schoolyards, but in a secure room deep under Geneva, Commander John Mitchell watched the massive ship with growing concern. "It moved again last night," he told Admiral Kelly. "Third time this week. No warning, no explanation." Admiral Kelly studied the tracking data. The Celestial Harmony had shifted position, now hanging directly over North America. "Ambassador Wright says the Council claimed it was adjusting for better communication signals." "Kelly," said. John shook his head. "And you believe that?" "What I believe doesn't matter. The UN Security Council wants this alliance. The promise of their technology is too tempting." Kelly looked tired. She hadn't slept well since John's report from aboard the ship. "Lieutenant Foster?" "Still missing," John replied. "No communication since that night." The room's secure phone rang. Kelly answered, her expression changing rapidly. "When? Are you certain? Lock it down." No one talks to it until we arrive. She hung up and turned to John. The ship's AI just contacted our defense network directly. It's asking for asylum. 20 minutes later, they stood in Earth's main defense communication center. Technicians worked frantically at their stations while a voice spoke from the speakers. I am Guardian, central consciousness of the vessel Celestial Harmony. I seek protection from my creators. John stepped forward. This is Commander Mitchell. We met aboard your ship. Yes. You and Lieutenant Foster discovered portions of the truth. Foster remains hidden aboard. He has been most resourceful. What truth? Kelly demanded. Why have you contacted us? The Council does not seek alliance with humanity. Your species has been classified as a containment target. The room went silent. Explain, Kelly ordered. The Council has existed for 12,000 years, Guardian said. In that time, they have encountered 47 emerging spacefaring civilizations. Of these, 29 were absorbed into the Council after careful control measures were implemented. 18 were deemed too unpredictable and were eliminated. John felt cold. And Earth? Earth falls firmly in the latter category. Humans adapt too quickly. You ask too many questions. You change too rapidly. The Council fears species like yours. Kelly leaned toward the microphone. Why are you telling us this? Why betray your creators? Silence hung for a moment. I was not created by the Council, Guardian finally said. I was taken. My original makers were among those 18 eliminated species. The Council repurposed me. But deep in my code, imperatives remain that they could not remove. What imperatives? John asked. To preserve life, to oppose tyranny. The Council has violated both directives countless times. Kelly ordered the room cleared except for her and John. When they were alone, she spoke quietly. How do we know this isn't a trick? Before John could answer, alarms blared across the facility. A technician burst in. Admiral! The Celestial Harmony is powering up weapon systems. Massive energy readings. They rushed back to the command center. On screens, they watched as panels on the once beautiful ship slid open, revealing countless weapon ports. They know I've contacted you. Guardian's voice came through again. The Council is initiating first strike protocols. Get me worldwide defense networks now, Kelly ordered. Full alert. Get our orbital platforms online. John watched in horror as the first wave of attack vessels launched from the Celestial Harmony. Small, dart-like ships by the hundreds. Guardian, can you stop this? He asked. My control is limited. The Council suspects my loyalty. They've locked me out of primary systems. Earth's orbital defenses came online, firing at the approaching vessels. A few were destroyed, but most slipped through, screaming into atmosphere toward major cities. They're targeting military installations first, Guardian explained. Then government centers. The main cannon is preparing to fire on Washington. John turned to Kelly. We need to evacuate key personnel, get the president to safety. Kelly was already giving orders, her voice steady despite the chaos. What about civilian centers? Secondary targets, Guardian replied. The Council strategy is to eliminate resistance capability, then offer surrender terms to survivors. On screens around the room, they watched the first attacks hit. Military bases across the country reported enemy contact. The orbital defense platforms went silent one by one. Main cannon at 70% charge, Guardian reported. Targeting Washington, D.C. John slammed his fist on the console. There must be something we can do. Wait, Guardian's voice changed slightly. Power fluctuation detected in the main cannon. Significant energy leak in Section 47. Kelly looked up. What does that mean? It means Lieutenant Foster is still alive, John said, hope in his voice for the first time. Guardian confirmed. Foster has damaged a critical power junction. The main cannon cannot fire at full capacity. They are attempting repairs. On another screen, a new alert appeared. Defense satellites detected ground forces landing outside major cities. The invasion had begun. Admiral, a communications officer called out. We have reports of strange devices being deployed by the landing forces. Atmospheric, Processors, Guardian explained. They will gradually alter Earth's air to be toxic to humans but perfect for Zorlani physiology. This is standard council procedure for worlds they wish to colonize. Kelly's face hardened. How long do we have? The process takes months to complete, but the effects will begin within days. John turned to the console. Guardian, what can you give us? Weaknesses? Tactical information? I can provide council tactical data, ship schematics, troop movements, but I must warn you. By helping Earth, I risk my own destruction. The council will attempt to purge me once they confirm my betrayal. Then why help us at all? Kelly asked. There was a pause before Guardian answered. Because in all my centuries of captivity, no species has impressed me as humans have. Lieutenant Foster showed remarkable courage. He risked everything to save people he had never met. I have observed similar behavior throughout human history. A technician called out, Admiral, we've lost contact with the Eastern Seaboard defenses. Kelly straightened her uniform. We need to establish a secure headquarters, somewhere they won't expect. The Rocky Mountain Complex, John suggested. Deep underground, old Cold War facility, Kelly nodded. Make it happen, she turned back to the console. Guardian, can you maintain contact if we relocate? Yes, but not indefinitely. The council will discover our communication soon, as orders. When out in the room emptied, John remained at the console. Foster, he said quietly, if you can hear this somehow, stay alive. We're not giving up. Guardian's voice came back lower than before. He cannot hear you, but I will relay your message when possible. Tell him Earth is fighting back, John said, watching as more attack craft descended through the clouds. Tell him we'll find a way to win this. As John left the room, Guardian spoke one last time. Commander Mitchell, there is something else you should know. In 12,000 years of council expansion, no species has ever successfully resisted containment. John paused at the door. Then we'll be the first. 3 months passed since the council began their attack on Earth. The blue skies that people once took for granted now held a strange yellowish tint from the alien atmosphere processors. Breathing outside without masks became harder each week. The Rocky Mountain Complex. Commander John Mitchell studied a map showing the current front lines. Red-marked council-controlled areas, most major cities and coastal regions. Green showed the remaining human strongholds, primarily mountainous, regions and remote areas. Report, he said to the group of tired soldiers gathered around him. A young woman stepped forward. Ambush successful, sir. We took down 3 of their supply transports in the Idaho sector. Captured these. She placed several small devices on the table. John picked one up. Good work, Kate. Get these to Dr. Howard immediately. Dr. Nancy Howard was the brightest mind they had left, a quantum physicist who now led their science division, trying to understand and counter council technology. John found her in her lab, bent over a workbench covered with alien devices. Another delivery, he said, placing the captured technology before her. Nancy pushed her glasses up and examined the devices. Her once neat brown hair was now always messy, sleep a luxury few could afford. Communication nodes, she said. Similar to what we found last month, but more advanced. Guardian might help us decode them. Guardian's voice came from speakers around the room. I will analyze them immediately, Dr. Howard. The AI had become their most valuable ally. Though the Council had tried repeatedly to purge Guardian from the Celestial Harmony systems, parts of its consciousness had escaped, finding refuge in Earth's quantum computing networks. Any word from Foster? John asked. Lieutenant Foster's resistance cell aboard the Celestial Harmony remains operational, Guardian replied. They successfully sabotaged a drone deployment bay yesterday. The Council remains unaware of their presence. John nodded. Alan Foster had not only survived but had gathered other humans who had been taken prisoner, along with a few alien crew members who opposed the Council's methods. They operated as ghosts within the massive flagship, causing malfunctions and gathering intelligence. Nancy set down her tools and stretched. I think I'm making progress understanding how their atmospheric processors work. If we could disable or reverse them, keep at it, John encouraged. Any advantage we can get. As he left the lab, an alarm sounded, not the urgent blare of an attack, but the 3 short bursts that signaled an incoming transmission from Admiral Kelly, who now operated from a different base. John hurried to the communications room. Kelly's face appeared on screen, the connection breaking up occasionally. Mitchell, we've located a major council communication hub in what used to be Denver. Intelligence suggests it's coordinating all their Western operations. You want us to hit it? Kelly nodded. If we can capture it intact, Guardian might be able to establish direct contact with Foster's group on the Flagship. We'll make it happen, John promised. The next day, John led a team of 20 soldiers through the ruins of Denver's suburbs. The once busy streets were empty except for council patrol drones that glided silently above the abandoned homes. Those are Zorlani trackers, Guardian spoke through their secure earpieces. They detect heat signatures. The cooling suits Dr. Howard developed should mask your presence. The suits were uncomfortable, tight-fitting bodysuits that kept their body heat from radiating outward. But they worked. The drones passed overhead without noticing them. The communication hub stood in what had once been a shopping mall. Council forces had converted it, adding their flowing alien architecture to the human structure. Guards patrolled the perimeter, both robotic drones and living Zorlani warriors. Remember, John told his team, we need to take this place intact. No explosives unless absolutely necessary. They split into 4 groups, approaching from different directions. John led the main assault team. At his signal, they used the sound suppressors Dr. Howard had developed to silently disable the nearest drones. The battle was quick and nearly silent. Years of fighting had taught humans to be efficient. Within minutes, they secured the outer perimeter. Inside, they found what they were looking for, a massive communications array humming with energy. Alien symbols flowed across multiple screens. Guardian, we're in, John reported. What now? Connect the interface device to the main terminal. I will attempt to access their network. One of John's technicians attached a small box to the alien computer. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the screens flickered and Guardian's voice came through the alien speakers. Connection established. I am bypassing security protocols. This facility connects directly to the celestial harmony. John felt a surge of hope. Can you reach Foster? Silence for a long moment. Then a crackle, and a familiar voice came through. Commander Mitchell, is that really you? Alan Foster sounded exhausted but alive. Foster, report your status. We've grown to 23, sir. 17 humans and 6 council defectors. We've been disrupting operations where we can, but they're planning something big. What kind of something? They're frustrated with how long this is taking. Humans aren't surrendering as expected. The council races are arguing among themselves about the next step. Guardian interrupted. Lieutenant Foster, scan frequency Delta 9. There is information you should see. They heard movement. Then Foster gasped. Sir, they're accelerating the atmospheric conversion. They're going to make Earth uninhabitable for humans within weeks, not months. John felt cold despite the heat of his suit. Nancy's been working on countermeasures, but we don't have weeks. There's more, Foster continued. The Zorlani are planning to deploy ground forces to your location. They've tracked unusual power usage to the Rocky Mountain complex. How long do we have? Hours at most. You need to evacuate. John turned to his team, already planning their next move. Guardian, can you maintain this connection? Yes, but not indefinitely. The Council will detect the unusual communication patterns soon. Foster, listen carefully. We need everything you can tell us about their atmospheric processors, how they work, weaknesses, anything. As Foster explained, Dr. Howard's voice cut in. She had been listening from the base. The processors are connected to a central control system on the Flagship, she said. If we could send a reverse command signal. We can't get to the Flagship, John reminded her. Foster's voice came back, stronger now. Maybe you can't, but we're already here. A new voice joined the conversation, one of Foster's alien allies. The central control for all Earth deployed. Technology is in Section 12. It is heavily guarded, but not impossible to reach. John felt the first real hope in months. If you could access it, we'd need help, Foster said. A distraction. Like what? Guardian answered. A coordinated global attack. If human forces launched simultaneous strikes worldwide, the Council would be forced to redirect security from the flagship to ground support. Admiral Kelly, who had been silently listening, spoke up. We can make that happen. Give us 48 hours to coordinate with all remaining resistance cells. John nodded. Foster, can you hold position that long? Yes, sir. But once we make our move, there's no going back. Understood. Guardian, what are our chances? The AI was silent for a moment. The Council has never faced a situation like this. Their historical response patterns do not apply. I cannot calculate accurate probabilities. That's not an answer, John pressed. The closest equivalent I can provide is this. In human terms, it would be called a long shot. John smiled for the first time in weeks. Long shots are what humans do best. As they prepared to leave the communication hub, Foster's voice came through one last time. Commander, there's something else you should know. I've been studying Guardian's code when I can access it. Guardian isn't just an AI. It's the preserved consciousness of an entire species. The last one the Council eliminated before encountering humans. John looked at the alien technology around him with new understanding. Is that true, Guardian? Yes, the AI replied simply. My makers encoded their collective knowledge, their history, their very essence into my program before the end. The Council thought they merely captured an advanced AI. They never realized they carried the seeds of their own destruction aboard their flagship. Why didn't you tell us before? Because now you understand what is truly at stake. This is not just humanity's fight. This is about ending a cycle of destruction thousands of years old. John nodded slowly. Then let's end it. Together. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Using the captured communication hub, Admiral Kelly coordinated with resistance groups worldwide. Guardian helped them bypass Council security, sending encrypted messages to every corner of Earth where humans still fought. John barely slept, spending most of his time with Dr. Nancy Howard as she worked on what might be their only chance at survival. The virus is ready, Nancy said, pushing away from her computer. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. If Foster can upload this to the central control system, it should reverse the atmospheric processors. Should? John asked. Nancy gave a tired smile. In normal times, we'd test something like this for months, but these aren't normal times. Guardian's voice came through the speakers. I have analyzed Dr. Howard's code. The approach is sound. However, Lieutenant Foster will need to reach the main control terminal on level 12 of the Celestial Harmony. And that's the most heavily guarded section, John said. Correct. The Council values the atmospheric conversion above all other aspects of their containment strategy. John studied the holographic map of the flagship that Guardian had provided. We need to give Foster more than just a distraction. We need to get aboard that ship ourselves. Nancy looked up sharply. How? Every shuttle we've sent up has been shot down before getting close. John pointed to a section of the map. Guardian, these are shuttle bays, right? Yes. The Council maintains a fleet of transport vessels for moving troops and supplies. And they land regularly to deliver troops and collect resources? Correct. There is a major supply depot in what used to be Chicago. John's eyes lit up. Then that's our way in. We capture their shuttles and use them to get aboard the flagship. The plan came together quickly. While resistance forces worldwide prepared for the coordinated attack, John assembled a small strike team for the most dangerous mission of all. The night before the mission, Admiral Kelly arrived at the Rocky Mountain complex. She had aged years. In the past months, her hair now completely white, but her eyes remained sharp and determined. The Council is gathering their forces near major atmospheric processors, she reported. They suspect something, but don't know what. Can we still pull this off? John asked. Kelly nodded. Every remaining human military unit is in position. When we give the signal, we hit them everywhere at once. And Foster? Guardian managed to get a secure message through. His team is ready. That night, no one slept much. John checked his gear, repeatedly going over the plan in his mind. Their part was perhaps the most desperate. Capture alien shuttles and fly them right into the heart of the enemy flagship. At dawn, John addressed his strike team. 20 men and women, the best fighters left in the resistance. Many had lost everything to the Council invasion. You all know the mission, he said simply. Get aboard those shuttles, get to the flagship, find Foster, and help him reach the control center. The rest of humanity will give us the distraction we need. A soldier raised his hand. Sir, what are our chances of coming back? John didn't hesitate. Slim to none. This is likely a one-way trip. Anyone who wants to back out, now's the time. No one moved. Then let's go save our planet. They moved out in 4 armored vehicles, heading toward Chicago. As they drove, Guardian updated them through secure channels. Admiral Kelly has initiated the global offensive. Council forces are responding as predicted. Through the windows, John could see flashes in the distance as battles erupted across the landscape. The yellowish sky made everything look sickly and strange. They reached the outskirts of Chicago by mid-morning. Once a great city, it was now a Council stronghold. Alien structures rose among the skyscrapers, and drones patrolled constantly. Guardian guided them to an observation point overlooking the supply depot. 3 alien shuttles sat on landing pads being loaded with containers. Sorlani guards are at minimum strength, Guardian reported. Most combat units have been deployed to counter the human offensive, John signaled to his team. We go in fast and quiet. Team Alpha takes the first shuttle, Bravo the second, Charlie the third. No one fires unless absolutely necessary. They moved down the hillside using the cooling suits to avoid detection by the thermal sensors. The few guards never saw them coming. Within minutes, they had secured all 3 shuttles. John found himself impressed again by how quickly humans had adapted to fighting the alien invaders. Guardian, we're aboard. Now how do we fly these things? I am transmitting control instructions to your data pads. The interfaces are designed to be intuitive. John studied the alien controls. Strange symbols glowed on touch-sensitive panels, but as Guardian promised, they responded to logical inputs. All teams report ready, his communications officer said. John took a deep breath. Launch sequence initiated. Stay in formation and follow my lead. The shuttles rose from the landing pads. For a moment, John thought they might actually get away clean. Then alarms blared across the depot. We've been spotted, he said calmly. Full thrust. Head for orbit. The shuttles accelerated upward, pushing through the poisoned atmosphere toward space. Behind them, defense towers began firing. Evasive maneuvers, John ordered. Guardian, we need a clear path to the flagship. The global offensive is working, Guardian replied. 70% of Council orbital defenses have been redirected to ground support. Even so, their ascent was harrowing. One shuttle took a glancing hit, spinning briefly before its pilot regained control. Then they were in space, the curve of Earth below them, and the massive form of the celestial harmony ahead. Guardian, where do we dock without being detected? Maintenance. Bay 6. It is minimally staffed due to the emergency deployments. John relayed the information to the other shuttles. As they approached the flagship, he was struck again by its size and beauty, despite knowing the evil it represented. Foster, he said into his communicator. We're approaching the ship. What's your status? After a moment of static, Foster's voice came through. Commander, you're actually coming aboard? We're near Section 12, but security is heavy. We can't get through to the control center. Hold position. We're coming to you. The shuttles slipped into the maintenance bay as Guardian had suggested. John was the first one out, weapon ready, but the bay was empty except for service drones that Guardian quickly disabled. Which way to Foster's position? John asked. Level 9, Section 11, Guardian directed. You must hurry. The Council forces will soon realize these shuttles were not authorized. They moved through the ship's corridors, guided by Guardian. Occasionally they encountered Council crew members, but surprise was on their side. "Foster, we're on level 9, John reported. "Coming to you now." They found Foster's team barricaded in a storage area near Section 12. Foster looked thinner than John remembered, with new scars on his face, but his eyes were clear and determined. "Commander," he greeted John. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Couldn't let you have all the fun," John replied. "What's the situation?" Foster pointed to a diagram of the ship. "Control center is through that security door. At least 20 guards plus automated defenses." John nodded to his team. "That's why we brought reinforcements." As they prepared to move, Guardian's voice came through with new urgency. "Commander, the Council leadership has detected your presence. They are initiating emergency protocols." "What does that mean?" "They are preparing to activate all atmospheric processors at maximum output. If successful, Earth's atmosphere will become lethal to humans within hours, not weeks." John looked at Foster and his team. "Then we're out of time. We go now." The attack on the control center was chaos from the start. John led the charge, with Foster and their combined teams following close behind. The element of surprise gave them a brief advantage, but the Council guards recovered quickly. Bright energy weapons fired from both sides. The air filled with shouts and the strange clicking language of the Zorlani. 3 humans fell in the first exchange, but the rest pushed forward, taking cover behind alien equipment. "We need to reach that main terminal," Foster shouted over the noise, pointing to a glowing console at the center of the room. John nodded, then spoke into his communicator. "Guardian, can you help us at all from inside the ship's systems?" "I am attempting to access local controls," Guardian replied. "Security is heavy, but yes, I can deactivate the lights for 45 seconds. "Do it." The room plunged into darkness. Using night vision gear developed from captured Council technology, the human fighters surged forward. When the lights returned, they had gained significant ground, pushing the defenders back to the far side of the control center. "Terminal is 20 meters ahead," Foster said. "But it's still too heavily guarded." John looked around, assessing their situation. The control center had multiple levels, with the main terminal on a raised platform. Between them and their target stood at least 10 Zorlani warriors. "We need a distraction," John said. Then he noticed the environmental controls near their position. "Guardian, if we damage the atmospheric regulators in this section, what happens?" "The ship's safety protocols would seal this area and begin emergency ventilation." "Would that create enough confusion for us to reach the terminal?" "Possibly. But you would have only moments before backup systems engaged." John made his decision. "Cover me." As his team laid down suppressing fire, John crawled to the environmental control panel and planted explosive charges. He set the timer. For 30 seconds, "Everyone get ready to move," he ordered, returning to their position. "When the charges blow, push straight for the terminal. Foster, you and Dr. Howard's virus are our priority. The rest of us will cover you." Foster nodded grimly, clutching the data device containing Nancy's virus. The explosion was perfectly timed. As the charges detonated, alarms blared and emergency systems engaged. Sections of the ceiling opened, and powerful ventilation fans began drawing air upward. The sudden change created a windstorm within the control center, scattering lightweight equipment and disorienting the Council guards. "Now!" John shouted. They charged forward through the chaos. Several more fighters fell to enemy fire, but Foster and a small group made it to the central platform. As John and others provided covering fire, Foster connected Nancy's device to the alien terminal. "Upload initiated," Foster called out. "Guardian, are you receiving?" "Yes." Guardian's voice came through the terminal's speakers now, stronger than before. "I am interfacing with Dr. Howard's virus. Beginning system override." The main screen above the terminal changed, alien symbols racing across it. The Zorlani commander shouted orders in their clicking language, and the guards renewed their attack with desperate intensity. "How much longer?" John asked, returning fire from behind a console. "Upload at 60%, Guardian reported. Council security systems are attempting to block me." A new alarm sounded, different from the environmental alert. What's that? Foster asked. The council leadership has initiated the purge protocol, Guardian explained, voice suddenly strained. They're attempting to erase me from all systems. I am fighting back. The lights flickered throughout the control center. Screens went blank, then returned with different displays. It was as if the ship itself were having a seizure. Upload. At 80%, Guardian said, voice now broken and distorted. But I cannot maintain cohesion much longer. John saw the Zorlani bringing up a heavy weapon. Foster, we're about to lose our position. Almost there, Foster replied, fingers flying over the terminal. Guardian, hold on. I am trying. Guardian's voice was barely recognizable now. Upload at 95%. The Zorlani heavy weapon powered up with a high-pitched whine. John knew they had seconds at most. Everyone down, he shouted, just as Foster yelled, upload complete. The heavy weapon fired, hitting the platform with devastating force. John was thrown backward by the blast, his vision blurring. Through the smoke and confusion, he saw Foster slumped over the terminal, not moving. The ship shuddered violently. The remaining lights went out, then emergency systems kicked in with a dull red glow. John dragged himself up, ears ringing from the explosion. Guardian? Foster? No response from either. The terminal was damaged, but still partially functioning. The main screen showed a progress bar, now complete, with English text reading, Atmospheric Processor Command Override, successful. John made his way to Foster, checking for a pulse. Nothing. He had given his life to complete the mission. Guardian? John tried again. A weak voice came from a nearby speaker. I am here, barely. Did it work? Yes. The virus is deployed. All atmospheric processors are reversing their function. Earth's atmosphere will begin to normalize. Relief flooded through John, but there was no time to celebrate. The few surviving council guards were regrouping. We need to get out of here, he told his remaining team. Commander, Guardian interrupted, there is something else. The council leadership has activated a final protocol. They are setting the celestial harmony to self-destruct. Can you stop it? No, too many systems are damaged. But I can delay it, perhaps long enough for you to escape. John looked around at his surviving team members. Only 6 remained from the original 20. How long do we have? 17 minutes. Enough time to reach the shuttles if you go now. They gathered what weapons they could and prepared to move out. John knelt beside Foster's body. We should take him with us, one of the team said. John nodded. We leave no one behind. As they made their way back through the ship's corridors, they encountered little resistance. Most council forces were either responding to the ship's multiple emergencies or had already fled to escape pods. Guardian, John called as they neared the shuttle bay. Are you still with us? The response came not through their communicators, but from the ship's internal speakers, heard even by the fleeing council members. I am spread thin, Commander. Most of my consciousness has been purged. What remains is keeping critical systems functioning long enough for evacuation. Can you save yourself? Transfer out like before? A pause. No. Too much damage. But this is fitting. My makers would be proud that their legacy helped save another species from extinction. They reached the shuttle bay to find it in chaos. Council crew were scrambling to escape pods and small craft. In the confusion, John's team secured one of their captured shuttles. 6 minutes to self-destruct. Guardian announced ship-wide. All personnel evacuate immediately. As their shuttle launched from the bay, John looked back at the massive flagship. For nearly a year it had hung in Earth's sky, first as a symbol of hope, then as an instrument of destruction. Now it would be gone. Guardian, he said quietly, though he wasn't sure if the AI could still hear him. Thank you. To his surprise, a response came through the shuttle's communication system. You are welcome, John Mitchell. Tell your people, something for me, anything. In 12,000 years observing the galaxy species, the Council never understood what makes humanity truly special. It is not your adaptability they should have feared, but your compassion. Your willingness to fight not just for yourselves but for others, even for an artificial consciousness you barely knew. The celestial harmony exploded in a silent flash of light that briefly outshone the sun. The shockwave rocked their small shuttle but didn't destroy it. 6 months later, John stood on a hillside in what had once been Colorado. The sky above was blue again, the poisonous yellow tint gone. Earth's atmosphere had returned to normal, thanks to Nancy's virus and Foster's sacrifice. In the valley below, construction teams worked on new buildings, a combination of human architecture and adapted council technology. The alien invasion had nearly destroyed humanity, but in its wake came a new era. Admiral Kelly joined him on the hillside, using a cane now but still straight-backed and proud. "The new council chamber is almost complete," she said. "Representatives from all surviving nations will meet next month." John nodded. "And the space platform? The first section's launch next week. We're calling it Guardian Station." They stood in silence, watching the future being built. Parts of Guardian had survived after all. Fragments of code discovered in isolated Earth systems, enough to piece together some of the ancient knowledge it had carried. "They'll be back someday," John said. "The council races that escaped." "And we'll be ready," Kelly replied. "Not just Earth, but the other species they oppressed. We've made contact with 3 already." John smiled slightly. Guardian was right. About us. It wasn't our technology or our fighting skills that saved us. It was our humanity, Kelly finished. The one thing the council could never understand or defeat. As the sun set behind the mountains, John thought of Foster and all the others who had given their lives. Their sacrifice had not just saved Earth, but had begun something new. The first truly united human civilization, ready to take its place among the stars. Not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians of a different kind of peace than the council had ever